What would you do with 500 grand in real estate? Own 10 homes or two free and clear? Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Closing the Deal. I am one of your hosts, Zach Dixon, and as you can see today, I am going solo dolo for an episode. And today we are talking about what we would do with 500 grand investing in real estate. This is an awesome topic, guys, because again, anybody can get started in real estate investing. Anybody can decide that they want to be a real estate investor. All you have to do is, have the wherewithal and continue to push towards that goal and have an end goal in mind and all in all. So I am definitely super excited for this episode. This is an episode that is very near and dear to my heart, I would say, in the real estate space. Obviously, I love doing sales for buyers and sellers as clients and whatnot. But real estate investing is an awesome topic to talk about, obviously, because I would say, generally speaking, most of the, millionaires that we have in the United States here are involved in real estate in some sort of fashion, some sort of way. So this does open a lot of doors, guys. If you are thinking about getting started in real estate investing, it can open a lot of doors, provide a lot of different opportunities for you and your life as you progress, as you get older and get closer to that retirement age. Having a portfolio of real estate can allow you to do a lot of different things as you get closer to that retirement age. So basically, guys, getting started in today's episode, what we're going to do is run through a couple of different scenarios that I personally would choose to do if I had 500 grand, $500,000 in cash laying around, ready to invest in real estate. So these are the strategies that I would employ. But I would encourage you all to do your own research and continue to look at all of the different aspects of investing in real estate. Because while I'm going to talk about two that I would absolutely, take part in and make sure that I'm participating in, there are a lot of different options, guys, across single family, multifamily. This is all residential real estate. But then as you get into commercial real estate, there are office buildings, there are retail buildings, there are industrial buildings. All of those things are able to be invested in as real estate investors as a whole. So, and honestly, guys, I didn't even touch on everything there. So there are just so many different options. So while I'm going to lay out a couple of different options that I would choose to employ, make sure to check out, if you guys are interested in real estate investing, again, check out some other stuff. Make sure we're looking and talk to your real estate agent as well. Make sure that you are, uncovering all stones, unturning all stones, making sure that all options are looked at, and making sure that the decision that you're making for your future is the best for your future and your future only financially. Because again, guys, I think I got started talking about in the episode that everybody can do it. Absolutely, everybody can do it. But I will say not everybody's going to be successful with it. We do see a lot of success stories, and as I mentioned, a lot of the millionaires that are made in the United States are again made through real estate investing. But again, guys, you have to be prepared. You have to be able to execute the plan that you lay out when you get started to be able to be successful in real estate investing. So getting started, guys, the first strategy that I would choose to employ if I had $500,000 laying around to invest in real estate, I would be going the single family home route. Ultimately, with these single family homes, why I choose this over multifamily personally is because I think that there is something to be said coming out of COVID for having your own space, having no shared walls with another person. Now, obviously, this is personal preference and whatnot, but generally speaking, I think people want their own space. People want to have their own garage to hang out in. People want to have their own parking spaces. People want to have their own bathrooms, et cetera, et cetera. They want to have their own home without encroaching on other people, generally speaking. Now, as we've seen the development here in Central Ohio, we are seeing a lot of ground up 6 floors, 7 floor apartment buildings that are kind of the complete opposite of what I'm talking about there. And so I kind of think, that's working in inverse. The more that we build these high-rise apartment buildings, the more people are going to start flocking towards the finite amount of single family homes that we have on the market. And so I think if you do own one of these single family homes, you have an asset on your hands that is easily rentable for the foreseeable future, all in all. When I'm talking about these single family homes, obviously location is going to matter greatly. Location matters in real estate 100% all the time. Again, you can make a property perfect on the inside and aesthetically on the outside. But again, you can't uproot the property from its current location to put it in a better location. So I'm always going to recommend buying property in good, appreciating locations. And at that point, if the property needs work, if something needs to be done with the property, you absolutely can do that for sure. So what I'll be looking at is I'm going to be looking for urban type neighborhoods, suburban type neighborhoods with low property taxes, but good schools. So some of these options are going to be, Dublin, Worthington, Westerville, Newark area. Some of those options are going to provide great schools, great locations, but maybe a little bit lower taxes than what we see in some of the other metro areas here in Central Ohio and across the country as well. And so I think getting started with some numbers all in all, if we had $500,000, we could break this down in one of two ways. Basically, what we could do is with $500,000, we could buy properties all in cash. So if a property, for ease of reference and numbers, for property that is worth $250,000, we obviously could buy 2 single family homes for $500,000 in total with that profit or with that cash on hand. Now, this sounds like a good strategy, right? Obviously, you're buying the property in cash, in full. You have no mortgage payment each month. So everything that you collect, minus any operating expenses that you can foresee, whether that's utilities, whether that's insurance, whether that's taxes, et cetera, all of those things, all of the incomes that you bring in are going to be net profit. You don't have a mortgage payment to make each month. And generally speaking, that's going to be the largest expense for a real estate investor if they are taking on a mortgage. So that is definitely a pro. You're going to have a lot more cash flow if we are buying only 2 properties at the $500,000 mark, rather than our other option here, which is buying 10 properties using only half of that $500,000. So basically, if our purchase price for all 10 properties is $250,000, we're now spending $2.5 million in total on these 10 properties. Now, what we can do instead of paying all cash for these properties is leverage, use banks' money, use mortgages to allow us to scale quicker and buy more property and allow us to level up that net worth as quickly as possible. So what we're going to do with the leverage is we're going to buy 10 properties, all with 20% down. 20% down on 250 grand is going to be $50K per property. And if we're buying 10 properties, we're going to be spending $50K on each, which is our total 500 grand. So now at this point, we have 10 mortgages on these properties, and now we have mortgage payments on these each month. Now, if we do get these rented at $2,000 per month, this could end up being close to 20 grand per month in cash flow before expenses. Now, this does include obviously our mortgage that we use to buy the property with. When we discuss the mortgage and when we discuss our taxes and insurance, obviously those are the 3 big expenses that we have each month. Those are going to be, pretty much fixed. Generally speaking, they can change over time, over year, but they are fixed. And so give or take number wise, those would be about $1,500 per month on average per unit. So in total, adding up all 10 properties, you are cash flowing close to $5 grand per month, $500 per unit with those leveraged properties. So basically what you were able to do with your 500 grand was buy 8 more properties with debt and continue to have cash flow left over as well. The pros to this are obvious. It is scalability. You can scale this portfolio very, very quickly and very high. There really is no limit to what you can do and accumulate real estate wise. Obviously, as you accumulate these properties and as you are paying down the mortgage, your net worth is going up at this point as well. So the scalability of your net worth as you're buying properties and as these properties appreciate and as you're paying down your mortgage, those are allowing you to grow your net worth as an individual, which is it's key. Honestly, you cannot beat that when you're on the path, to financial freedom as a whole. So talking about some of the cons, there is, obviously this is a bigger risk. This is a bigger risk because you have almost $2 million worth of debt over these properties. Now, is this a gigantic risk? I don't think so, because property is always in high demand and you are always going to have an asset with your property. The value of this asset is, generally speaking, never going to go to absolute zero. So this asset is always going to be worth something, and no matter what, you should be able to get the worth out of the asset as well at some point in time. If tragedy struck, if something happened to where you need to get out of real estate investing, usually you're able to get out of these assets without having to liquidate everything and take a full bankruptcy on it. So getting back to our 2 single family option, just wanted to talk about cash flow a little bit. If we were renting those out at that same $2,000 a month rent number, at that point, we would only be netting about $4,000 in net income each month. And as you guys can remember with the first example, when we bought 10 single family properties, we were netting out about $5,000 a month in that example. So guys, again, it is really about your specific scenario, your risk tolerance, what you are looking to get out of the real estate investing journey as a whole. So with that information, guys, would you rather have 10 houses with leverage or 2 owned free and clear in cash? Let us know in the comments below. Moving on to our next option here. This is a little bit different than what we have been previously talking about with the single family home route. And what we will be discussing moving forward is industrial properties. Why I am very interested and very bullish on industrial properties is, if you've taken a look at the market as a whole in the United States in the last 20, 30 or so years, tech has dominated the landscape of the American economy. A lot of the growth that has happened from these large tech companies here in the United States: Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, et cetera, et cetera. Those conglomerates are driving the growth here in the United States and should be treated as such, absolutely, as well. These companies, these conglomerates need industrial property for one reason or another. When you think about Amazon, with all of the product that they have on hand and the ability to get that product from their warehouse to your doorstep in sometimes less than 6, 12, 24 hours is absolutely unreal. And to be able to continue to scale that operation and operate it efficiently, they have to have the tools and the resources in their disposal at any time. And one of those tools is obviously large industrial warehouse properties. And so it doesn't just start with Amazon. It goes to all of the tech conglomerates, Intel here in Central Ohio, Facebook with their data centers, Google with their data centers. All of the data that we're putting onto these social media sites and onto the internet has to be stored somewhere, physically stored somewhere. And that is where these industrial properties come in. And so here in Central Ohio, we've had a ton of tech investment, especially on the east side of Columbus. And that tells me, Columbus is an area that these tech conglomerates are wanting to operate in and wanting to, tap into as a whole. And so I think that there are other metro areas very, very similar to Columbus in the United States in that regard, Nashville is one. Indianapolis is another. Chicago is becoming, one of the New York or LA of the Midwest. And so I would say a lot of these, tech companies are kind of moving away from the coast and taking the same amount of land, the same amount of property that they had on the West Coast or on the East Coast, and getting that at much, much cheaper of a cost. And I think that there is some opportunity there for investors as well. And so what we would do here, guys, is use the entire $500,000 as our down payment on one industrial property. The strategy here is going to be appreciation focused. We are going to hold this property absolutely forever and ever until we are ready to retire, until we're ready to pass that property on. And again, it's going to be appreciation focused based on the demand in the area. If the area is in high demand for tech and we're holding that property from the very beginning of development to the very end, we're going to have a lot of bidders at the very end. We're going to have a lot of people interested. And at that point, the appreciation is absolutely going to be there. This isn't going to be a strategy that we're looking for maximum cash flow at the very beginning. This is going to be, as I just mentioned, an appreciation focused strategy with cash flow coming at the end of the term. Again, you're taking on a good amount of debt when you purchase this industrial property at $500,000 down. Usually you're going to be looking in that $1.5 to $2.5 million total purchase price range for an industrial property. And so the cash flow isn't going to necessarily be there right away. But as you continue to hold this property and pay down your debts on the property, you're going to be able to generate more and more cash flow as a whole. Another large pro that I have for the industrial property route is in generally speaking terms, they are very much recession proof. Again, manufacturing does not take a back seat when we hit a recession. We still need to be able to build things, make things, design things, et cetera, et cetera. All of those things have to happen even in recession environments. And again, goods need to be delivered. People need items during recessions, during upswings in the economy. It does not matter at all. And so in that aspect, generally speaking, again, they have low vacancy rates during this time period, whereas other assets during recessions probably have a little bit higher of vacancy rates. And so that's obviously a positive there as a real estate investor. When you think about investing in real estate, I think sometimes our minds automatically go to the downturn side of it, and we want to kind of reassure ourselves, and I would say that industrial properties are probably your safest bet during a downturn. And continuing off that, again, if you are investing in industrial property and taking the appreciation focused strategy in 5, 10, 15 years, as your property is appreciating, as you're paying that down, you can use that equity in the property to go do the same exact thing again. Go buy another industrial property, the same exact type template, and do it again over and over again until you're scaled to 3 to 5 properties. And now at that point, that can absolutely fund you a retirement between the cash flow and the appreciation. So again, while we're starting small in this instance, in this scenario, there is a lot of room to scale, just like in the single family route as well. It just may take a little bit longer of time just due to the sheer size of the purchase price and volume as a whole. All in all, investing in industrial property is like planting seeds for your retirement garden. It's going to be low risk, but it's going to be long-term growth. So the last thing I wanted to talk about here, guys, is, again, risk and lifestyle considerations as a whole. Both of these scenarios are fantastic scenarios to get started in investing in real estate, and great scenarios to have if you have, 500 grand laying around in cash, which is a great scenario to have as well. However, again, we have to evaluate these scenarios and any scenario that you're choosing to evaluate in real estate investing based on your situation and your risk tolerance as a whole. If you're young, getting started in investing, maybe your early 20s, you have a lot of time before you're planning on getting retired and settling down and not working anymore. So I would say as a young investor, you probably have a little bit higher of a risk tolerance, and you can take on a little bit higher of leverage because of that. So in that aspect, maybe the 10 single family property route would be something that you would want to get started in as you're young, and you can take on a little bit more risk. If something does go bad in that instance, you can absolutely come back from it. You have plenty of time before you're deciding to get retired, in your 50s, 60s, 70s, whatever it may be, and you can kind of recover from that. If that happens to you, in your 50s, in your early 60s, you don't have much time to recover from something bad happening in that portfolio as a whole. So again, young, risk adverse, maybe have a little bit more risk tolerance, that would be the scenario I think that you would be wanting to put a little bit more leverage into the property, have a little bit more scalability and ability to grow and keep that ceiling as high as possible. And so on the flip side, I think, as we just talked about, as we get older and as we get closer to retirement age, that's where we're looking for a little bit more conservative bets, something more, you know, risk, something a little bit less risky, obviously something that we can feel confident in as we get closer and closer to that retirement age. So what does that look like? Probably the industrial route. If you have one property and you have that entirely paid off, I know that the scenario that we threw out there was on leverage. But if you're older and getting closer to that retirement age and have a little bit more cash on hand and are able to buy the industrial property in cash and increase your cash flow, one industrial property can absolutely pay for your entire retirement on a month-to-month basis. So again, cash purchases and stable income is what we're looking for as we get closer to that retirement age and as we get to be a little bit more conservative as a whole. Your stage of life should dictate your real estate strategy. Risk and reward are not one size fit all. So guys, that is all that I have for you today on today's episode. What would you do with 500 grand real estate edition? Again, guys, we talked about two scenarios and a couple of different paths within those scenarios. But again, we talked about the single family route and we talked about the industrial route. These are two routes that I would definitely recommend looking into and checking out when we're getting started on that real estate journey. And again, guys, it really just depends on, opportunities, lifestyle, and life stage considerations as a whole. Those are the things that are going to allow us to make the decision to become real estate investors to begin with, and number two, how we want to invest in real estate when we do get started. Because again, guys, as I talked about at the beginning of the episode, these are just two scenarios. These are just two routes you could take. But again, there are so many different avenues, so many different ways to get started investing in real estate that we could probably spend an entire series on it, honestly. So again, guys, hopefully you guys found some value in today's episode. If you guys have any questions, concerns, comments at all, feel free to leave those below. We definitely want to hear about those, and I definitely want to hear about anybody's experience investing in real estate as well. If you're an experienced real estate investor, have already bought property, let us know in the comments below how that has gone, what type of property you're invested in, and how the strategy kind of lined up with what we've talked about here on today's episode. So guys, like, subscribe, and follow for more, and comment below, how would you deploy your 500 grand in real estate investing? Just want to say thank you guys again for tuning in, and we will see you guys on the next episode. Cheers.